This is lesson 2-3B from the Algebra Readiness textbook. For this lesson, you will need a sharpened pencil and your note packet. Today's learning target is to simplify expressions by combining like terms. If at the end of this lesson you are unable to meet this lesson target, make sure you seek some extra help. The first thing we need to write down in our notes is how to simplify a variable expression. Remember, a variable or algebraic expression is simply a math expression that has letters in it. In order to simplify a variable expression, you are going to combine any like terms and combine any constants separately. You learned that a like term are terms that have the same variable, and that constants, by definition, are the terms that do not have a variable at all. The steps for simplifying of algebraic or variable expression are here. The first step is to rewrite the problem with only addition and write the invisible one coefficients. So convert everything, all subtraction, to adding the opposite. Step 2, use the commutative property to put like terms next to each other. Step 3, use the associative property to group your like terms. Step 4, simplify. So let's put this in action. Let's go back here, step 1, and we're going to use this blue algebraic expression, 5x plus 6 plus 3x plus 2 plus 4x plus 1. So this is what your focus is. Step 1 is to rewrite the problem using only addition and write in any invisible one coefficients. That step is already done for us. Step 2, use the commutative property to put the like terms by each other. Well, I see that 5x, 3x, and 4x are my like terms. I also see that 6, 2, and 1 are like terms. So I would like to shuffle those around so that all of the yellow terms are together and all of the green terms are together. And so here you can see, if I rewrote it like this, that my constants, 6, 2, and 1, are by each other, and my like terms of 5x, 3x, and 4x are all by each other. That was the commutative property that allowed me to change that order. Now, using the associative property, notice I put some parentheses around here, I'm able to group them together. And now I'm going to simplify. 5 plus 3 plus 4 is 12x. 6 plus 2 plus 1 is 9. And I leave that 12x plus 9. All right, in the next problem, doing those same steps over again, we're going to start off by rewriting the problem. If there's any subtraction, to have adding the opposite. 5m plus 2 plus negative 2m plus negative 6. Now, at this point, I have noticed many kids liking or wanting to do this instead, and that is okay, where you change this to adding negative 2, adding negative 6. So you're kind of saving yourself a step of rewriting that all. That's fine, whichever one you choose to do. So now we've got this. We rewrote it like this. Step 2, use the commutative property to put like terms by each other. 5m and negative 2m are like terms. Likewise, 2 and negative 6 are like terms. So the commutative property allows me to place those next to each other, as you can see here and here. Now the associative property allows me to group those together. And so when I add those together, I get 5m plus negative 2m, which is 3m, and then 2 plus negative 4, which gives me 2 plus negative 6, which gives me negative 4. So you could write 3m plus negative 4 or 3m minus 4, because adding a negative and subtracting are the same thing. All right, so let's give this a try. If we were going to simplify this, we're going to dig up those algebra tiles one more time. And if you're writing this in your notes, you would use a stick to represent a 1x. You would use a negative or a minus sign to represent a negative tile, and a plus sign to represent a positive tile. And so, as you can see, if I were going to represent 2x, that would look like this. Positive 4 would look like this. 3x would look like this. And so if I simplify this by combining my like terms, which in this case are 2x and 3x, I can see that I actually have 5 x's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 x tiles, and 4 unit tiles. So you see, I cannot combine that and call it 9x. I don't have 9x. I have 5 x tiles and 4 unit tiles. 5x plus 4 is as simplified as I can get. Okay, now we obviously can see how that works, so you will not need to represent this with tiles each time. The tiles just help us to develop an understanding. So in this case, one more time we'll do the tiles and then we'll abandon that practice and we'll just do the algebraic representation. So this is 3a instead of the algebra tile can be an X tile, an A tile, any of the letters A through Z. Then I have 2 positive tiles. Then I've got 4 algebra tiles. And then minus 1 tile. So if I take 1 tile away. So what do I have left? I have 7 A tiles, and I have 1 plus 1 unit tile. Now, if you look at that algebraically, 3a and 4a are my like terms, so I would call that 7a. And then I've got 2 minus 1, which gives me 1. All right, so now let's give this a try. We're going to go back to our steps up here. Our first step was to rewrite the problem using only addition. So convert subtraction to adding the opposite. Step 2 was put your like terms by each other. Okay? So let's rewrite this as 4f plus negative 2f plus 3. The second step, put my like terms by each other. I did that. My third step, refer back to it in your notes. Use the associative property to group them and then simplify. So my associative property allows me to group 4f and negative 2f. When I'm adding negatives, 4f plus negative 2f's, I have 2 different signs. So I subtract and I give it the sign of the larger absolute value. So 4 is bigger than 2, so 4 is positive, it's positive 2f. And then 3 doesn't have anything to combine with, so my answer is 2f plus 3. Let's do those same steps again. 9y minus 3y. I can just combine those together, or I could rewrite it as adding a negative 3. 9 minus 3 is 6y plus 12. 12 is a constant. It does not have any other constant to combine with. That is as simplified as I can go. All right, looking at this one. Here, I'm going to rewrite this as adding the opposite. So 8a plus 7 plus negative 11a. Now, some of you, again, are getting really good at just squeezing a negative in there, and that would be fine, and you could skip rewriting that step. Now I need to use the commutative property to switch the order. 8a plus negative 11a plus 7. And then, just like when we did the order of operations, how you justify each step, that is the commutative property that allowed me to switch those around, and I can show that justification like this. Then I need to use the associative property to group this together. 8a minus 11a is negative 3a plus 7 and that was the associative property of addition. And then this is my answer. So we're getting really good at understanding that we do not need to get a single number as our answer. We can leave it as an expression. All right, the next problem. Make sure that you enter in any understood or invisible coefficients. This is really 1x, not just x. And then let's rewrite this as adding the opposite, adding negative 4x plus 3. All right, now I'm ready. I can see that this would be helpful if this 6 would switch places with or sneak over in front of the 3, so we would get the 6 and the 3 by each other. And so I'm left with 1x plus negative 4x plus 6 plus 3. Now my like terms are all grouped together. My x's are first and my constants are second. Now, I use the associative property to group those. 1 plus negative 4 is negative 3x. 6 plus 3 is 9. If you are still struggling with how to add and subtract negative numbers, that was lesson 1-5 and 1-6. Go back and watch those lesson videos and work those problems over again until you get really good at adding and subtracting negatives. That will help out a great deal. All right, now at this point, I'd like you to pause the video, give these two a try, see how you do on your own, then come on back. All right, so hopefully you gave these a try. I'm going to go through these and make this adding the opposite, or adding negative 7b here. Then I'm going to use my commutative property to switch the order. 5a plus 3a plus 2b plus negative 7b. So now you can see that I have my a terms together and my b terms together. Now I'm going to group those, and I'm going to call this 5a plus 3a is 8a. 2b plus negative 7b is negative 5b. You could leave it like that, but I want you to get really good at seeing that adding negative 5b is the same as subtracting 5b, that these two are the same answer. That way, if you're on your homework and you see two different possibilities on or one of the two answers in your homework, that you know that you should give yourself full credit for either of those answers. Okay, the next one. Now, I would like to get all of my constants, which are 9 and 6, by each other. And so I am going to rewrite this as negative 2x plus 9x plus 9. Notice this is positive 9 because it's not negative, so I know it's a positive. Now I'm going to group this together, negative 2x plus 9x and 9 and 6. Negative 2x plus 9x is 7x. Plus 9 plus 6 is 15. 7x plus 15 is my answer there. All right, pause the video. Try these next 4, and then come on back and compare your answers. All right, so this first one, you should have renamed this as adding negative 4b. Then we want to use the commutative property to switch the order. 7b plus negative 4b plus 25. Then the associative property allows me to put these together. 3b plus 25. The next one. I'm going to add my, my 1 coefficient in front of that a. I'm also going to change this to adding negative 4a. And now I'm looking at this and I see that all of these are like terms. So I can simply combine them together, skip right to the associative property. 1a plus 2a is 3a plus 3a plus negative 4a. Then 3a plus 3a is 6a plus negative 4a. And then I get 6a plus negative 4a is a positive 2a. Okay, the next one. I immediately see a subtraction that I need to change to adding a negative. And then I want to use my commutative property to get my variables by each other. 12a plus negative 10a plus 4. The associative property allows me to group those together, and I get 2a plus 4. The next problem. I want to insert my one coefficient. I want to change subtraction to adding negative 7x. Now, my like terms are already by each other. So 7 plus, now when I take 1x plus negative 7x, I get negative 6x. Now, I could leave it like that, or make sure you're okay with knowing that you negative 6x plus 7 means the same thing. In math, you are oftentimes going to see that the default is to write a variable expression with the variable first. So if you see that in the answer key, make sure you're giving yourself credit if you wrote the top answer, but the bottom is what's in the answer key. Okay, the best way to learn this is to do some more practice. So I would like you to try these 4. Pause the video, do these 4, and then come on back and compare. All right, hopefully you had enough time by pausing the video and you gave these a good try. The commutative property says that I can switch these around. So 7y plus 16 plus negative 8. Then the associative property lets me group these. 7y plus 8 is my simplified expression. Okay, then the next one. This should be adding negative 7. The commutative property allows me to switch the order so that my m's are next to each other. The associative property is my grouping property, so use that to group. 18m plus 12m gives me 30m. Plus negative 7, which is the same as 30m minus 7. Again, be good with both of these being a correct answer. All right, the next problem. The next problem, I immediately switch this to adding negative 9y. I see that I've got a y here and a y here, and then I've got the x's here and the x's here, so I want to rearrange these simply by switching these two. 2x plus 7x plus negative 9y plus 20y. Then the associative property changes the grouping. So I can group these and I get 9x. And then I add negative 9y plus 20y is 11y, positive 11y. And that is my answer right there, simplified expression. All right, the last one. I want to write in the invisible 1 coefficient. I want to change minus 5c to a negative, adding negative 5c. And then it looks like I'm ready to rock here. I do not need to change anything. I do not need to use the commutative property because the c values are all right next to each other. I'm ready to just combine them using the commutative or the associative property. So I'm going to group those all together. 1c plus 2c plus 1c minus 5c. Taking that nice and slow, we could go 3c plus 1c. 3c plus 1c is 4c plus negative 5c plus 1. I get negative 1c plus 1. Or just negative c plus 1. Make sure that you understand that both of these the correct answer. All right, hopefully by now you are able to simplify expressions by combining the like terms. Your assignment is the worksheet 2-3B. If you can print off the worksheet, you can write the answers on a separate piece of paper and take a picture and submit it, but all work must be shown. All right, give this a try.